Hey guys, Palsteron here, and today let's talk about my personal top 7 favorite League starters for the 3.26 Secrets of the Atlas expansion. Now don't forget that this is my personal top 7, and also while I think all of these are really powerful, at the end of the day what really matters is that you pick a build that you can actually enjoy and that can get you through the first days of the league. There's no reason to play a meta build just to reroll day 2 because you're not really enjoying it, so just keep that in mind. With that said, number 1 is Volcanic Fissure of Snaking, probably the most meta build currently out there. It is a skill that has been left over from last league. A lot of the strongest skills have been nerfed. For some reason, Volcanic Fissure of Snaking has been untouched. It is a highly efficient pick if you find with Slam playstyle, and you can automate a lot of the war cries. You'll have to press a little bit of buttons. It is just highly efficient from the get-go, and it also, the Transfigure gem is not that hard to farm because it is a red gem. You can follow the Crouching Tuna on both YouTube, and also he will have an in-depth max roll guide if that's more your speed. I will link both down below in the description, as well as Fubgun. He also has a YouTube video. As far as I know, the differences between the two are mostly like one goes for spell suppression, which is Tuna, and one goes a little bit more into damage early. So just pick and choose depending on your preferences. I think both guides are great. Number 2 is the Vortex of Projection Archmage build. Archmage was one of the things that should have been nerfed probably a lot harder, but it really wasn't. It got a slap on the wrist from 19 down to 16% of your mana is extra damage. And while the strongest skill for it, Ice Nova, got nerfed, there is still 2 choices here. There is number 1, Vortex of Projection, which is my personal favorite, and there's also Ball Lightning of Orbiting. Quite strong choice as well. It's an incredibly tanky build. It has good progression throughout. It has freeze. For me personally, Vortex of Projection is the easy pick. A skill that has definitely been in the shadow of Ice Nova Frostbolt for quite a while now, and I think Waggle has a great guide out there, so we'll also link to that down below. Downside, I'd say, is the 2-button playstyle, but if that doesn't really bother you, then there you go. Number 3 is my reworked Explosive Arrow Ballista Elementalist, which just got Golem support. One of my favorite builds from the past has been getting a new coat of paint with a lot of extra buffs. If you didn't know, at level 34, so with level 1 golems, these are the stats you're getting just from the first ascendancy and 3 points on the passive tree. And while it is yet to be seen how these golems are going to compete in endgame, one thing that is for sure is it isn't going to be an absurdly strong early game boost, so definitely look out for that. The leveling is going to be an absolute joke. The build clears great with Ignite Prolifs and has great progression. You can basically kill Feared on a 1 chaos bow. There's no targeting, you just plop down your ballistas and you move. Very brain dead gameplay basically. Downside would be the delayed damage, and it can be quite squishy, which might or might not be addressed by golems, but in general the defenses are still conditional. I do have a guide out on both YouTube and Maxroll. I'll link it down below in the description. Then we have Rolling Magma Mines, one of my favorite archetypes in general. I've been playing Rolling Magma for the last 2 years several times. Has a special place in my heart. The problem was always you needed Nemesis or a way to give random directions to make the build really shine, and well, Saboteur got exactly that. This build is extremely spammy, has nice cozy clear. It does have the mind playstyle, and the downside would also be it's very hard on your graphics card, plus on your eyes if you don't like that. But Garafa did a really good job with the guide, so I'll link both down below to his YouTube video and also to his Maxroll guide. Then we have Righteous Fire Chieftain by Pox, a long-term staple of the PoE community. While the build doesn't have the highest power level right now, it is a very cozy playstyle, and some people cannot even think to play anything else because of low button playstyle. It has pretty much a breeze through campaign. It's very easy to gear early, but also quite hard to get into the high damage numbers. So if you want to do some of the harder content or some of the harder bosses, it won't be the fastest, but it will be quite reliable. I'll be honest though, the biggest reason why this build functions is because Pox puts in so much time and is very hand-holdy with this approach. So I will link down below to his video guide, and he also has a whole website about the archetype. Then there's the Smite, which is one of the builds I was also looking into to League Start, but I ended up not. I think it's one of the strongest melee skills in the game right now, and after Lightning Strike has kind of been dethroned, it is a natural second choice. It's a melee skill that has surprisingly good clear speed, and it also gives you a damage aura with flat damage, which makes early gearing a lot easier, and also using one-handers a lot easier, opening up the shield slot. The skill also does need good positioning to deal double damage. That's kind of its shtick. It overlaps 2 hits, and if you don't do that, especially against bosses maybe you don't know, or moving targets, it can be a little bit annoying. Now, in general, I think that this build excels at mid to late game. I think that early game, for example, Root 2 is leveling with Explosive Conk for quite a while. I know people will start earlier. From personal experience, I've leveled this one at level 38 is the earliest I would personally start it with once you get multi-strike. I think it is a highly powerful archetype, but I do have a little bit of reservations about the playstyle against new bosses and some of the mercs that are jumping around. So I'm not sure if you actually want to be super melee with that, but we'll have to see. I think it's going to be a strong pick either way. Both Rutu and I also think Ronaray have Slayer guides, so we'll link both of them down below in the description. Then we have the Poisonous Concoction of Bouncing Pathfinder, which is a very solid pick. You can't just play it on Pathfinder, but there's a lot of variations out there. But it's just a it's just a fun skill. Like, you click and it bounces around all over the screen. It's basically like Poisonous Concoction. You have to consume flash charges to do so, so you need a little bit of setup. That's why most people default to Pathfinder. It's an unarmed skill, so it doesn't really need any weapons, which early on is quite the advantage. You can put a lot of your money elsewhere into your build, but end game, I would say it does become a downside. However, as a Pathfinder, you're also well set up to be extremely tanky in endgame with Progenesis, so kind of like does have its ups and does have its downs, as most of the builds on this list. In general, I would say Poison Concoction excels at early and mid game. There's obviously a ton of people playing it. Personally, I'd like to recommend the Anime Princess Guide, which is very thorough and I think easy to follow along. So we'll also link that down below in the description. With that said, I would still like to remind you that all these tier lists and all these top X builds don't mean that you can't play anything else. There's a ton of builds out there that you can explore with. And if you're willing to not be hyper efficient, you can find a ton of builds to have fun with. There will be builds absent from this list that are just as good or maybe even better that will come out later. So who knows? These are just my personal picks. I've also obviously have my own head down, kind of like having to prep my guide, so it's not like I can catch everything. With that in mind, hope you guys enjoy League Start. I will be League starting Explosive Arrow Ballista myself, so if you want to check that out, I'm over on twitch.tv/Palsteron. You can play along if you want to, but yeah, I will also be putting out an Atlas guide probably in the next few hours, so look out for that. But otherwise, hope you guys have a great League Start, and since I still don't have a slogan, see you next time.